Hello. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Megan, and I'm a P1 at Drake. And tonight I'm going to share my testimony, but first I would like to pray. Lord, I just thank you for everyone here tonight. I thank you that we are able to gather in person to worship you and learn from your word. I pray that you would open our hearts to your word tonight, and that we would not leave here the same, but that you would change us to be more like you. I pray that you would calm my nerves and speak through me. Lord, this isn't my story, but it's yours, and you deserve all the glory. And I pray these things in your name. Amen. Okay, so growing up, I always believed in God, but we didn't really go to church, and I didn't actually know what it meant to be a Christian. When I was in about 5th grade, my mom, sister, and I were invited to a new church, and that's where I heard the gospel preached for the first time. We loved it, and we started going every Sunday. A few years later, I believe it was the summer before my freshman year of high school, I accepted Christ. I knew that I was a sinner and needed saving, and I believed that Jesus had died for me. But even though I truly wanted to live for Christ, I did not fully understand how sinful I was, and I think that's because my sin wasn't necessarily visible to other people, but it was mostly on the inside. I was always considered the good girl, never did anything wrong. I always did what my parents said, got straight A's, had a ton of friends. I was involved in sports, band, every other activity and organization in school. And I went to church, youth group, and FCA every week. On the outside, it looked like I was living the perfect life. But I've always been a very self-conscious person, especially when it came to my appearance. And because of this, I usually tried to blend in and avoid having a lot of attention on me. This got a lot worse partway through my sophomore year and into my junior year. I became extremely critical of how I looked, and I started to worry a lot about how other people saw me and what they thought. I also had a basketball coach during this time that was constantly telling my teammates and I that we weren't good enough, we were a disappointment and an embarrassment, and this just made all my insecurities even worse, and eventually led to struggles with pride, jealousy, hypocrisy, and even sexual sin and idolatry. I started looking for approval from everyone around me. Whenever I did something good, I wanted everyone to know and think that I was the best. And this led to me becoming extremely prideful. I would get jealous of anyone that was better than me at literally anything. And the same thing happened with my appearance. I would see people that I thought were prettier or more attractive than me, and I would get really annoyed for no reason. Like, why did they get to look like that, and I had to look like this? And I started craving attention I was getting from the guys around me, which made me feel really good about myself. I was seeking approval about my appearance from the world and not from God. I became obsessed with the idea of a relationship, and I would fantasize different situations with specific people. Whenever I lost this attention, I would fall back into my insecurities about my image. I became stuck in this cycle of being extremely prideful and feeling better than everyone else, and then falling into my insecurities and basically hating myself. And this went on for quite a while. But I've always been a very private person. I never liked talking about feelings or struggles, which is something I'm continuously working on. And so no one knew that I was struggling with any of this. I remember looking at myself in the mirror one night and just thinking, why would God make me like this? Why couldn't I be skinnier, smarter, or more athletic? Because then if I was, then maybe people would like me more and I would be in a relationship. It wasn't until I started drawing and painting that this kind of started to change. So I'm definitely a perfectionist, and I'll spend 20 minutes drawing one line, or I'll get halfway done with something, realize that I made one little mistake that no one else could even see, and I'll erase the whole drawing and start over. So it takes a really long time for me to consider something good enough to be done. And even after I've finished something, I still notice everything that's wrong with it. But when other people point out these little imperfections, I get extremely defensive. And so one night, when I was looking at myself and thinking of all the things I don't like, I realized that if I get that upset when people critique something that I have made, then how must God feel when I'm critiquing his creation, when he is the creator of the universe and he is not capable of making a mistake? Genesis 1:27 says that God created man in his own image, and Romans 9:20 says, "But who are you, O man, to answer back to God? Will what is molded say to its molder, why have you made me like this?" God, who is not capable of making a mistake, created me, and I have no right to question his decisions when everything he makes is perfect, which means that all of my imperfections were not a mistake. I felt so convicted and just began praying and asking God to forgive me and change the way that I viewed myself. And it definitely did not happen all at once, but slowly I started to view myself differently, and I was no longer disgusted with what I saw. I still have my insecurities and I still struggle with pride and jealousy, but I know that I am a child of God and He designed me like this on purpose. Nothing about me is a mistake, and now I find my confidence through Christ and His sacrifice on the cross for me instead of in worldly approval. If you have any questions or would just want to chat, I'd love to talk with you after the service. Thank you.